Are you a neurodivergent employee? Send this right now to your manager. Hi, managers. If you've thought, I really want to support my neurodivergent folks, I just don't want to get it wrong, you're in the right video. If your team is drowning in pings, missing deadlines by white knuckling inches, and quietly getting through meetings, it's not a talent problem, it's an environment problem, and you can fix an environment. Imagine having to come out to your boss, not about your identity, but just to ask for a quieter workspace or a bit of flexibility in your hours. For neurodivergent employees, that's the reality. Something as small as needing written agendas before meetings can feel like a confession, and one that risks judgment, being sidelined, or even losing opportunities. So today, we're kind of flipping the script. This video is for managers. If you have got autistic, ADHD, or auDHD people on your team, or honestly, just humans with brains, here's how you can normalize accommodations, reduce stigma, and make work safer for everyone. So today, by the end, you are going to know how autism, ADHD, and auDHD show up at work, how to spot masking and early burnout, and kind of a couple of steps, just super simple steps you can make this week, Monday even, to boost focus, quality, and retention without turning into the meeting police. Now, before we dive in, please hit subscribe, tap the bell. I release every Saturday. I release new practical tools to kind of get your team on board. Now, before we dive in, hit subscribe, hit that bell button, and let's get started. So hi, I'm Nicola. Hello, your neurofabulous friend. I'm late diagnosed AuDHD, and so I'm bringing lived experience and a workbook. I'm a leader in a not-for-profit and a safety professional by day. So psychosocial risk, workload, role clarity are literally my 9 to 5. I just finished my master's in law, and yes, I collect degrees like Pokemon cards. And I spend my weekend translating research on autistic burnout, ADHD at work, and neuro-inclusive leadership into checklists and scripts and systems that real teams can use. I've road tested a couple of these things as well. And I do a ton of other cool shit after hours because it genuinely brings me joy to help others in this space. Want receipts? Go stalk me on LinkedIn. It's all there.
Like this video and you get one more. La!
Okay, so let's go through real quick, just, for knowledge sharing, or level setting, I should say. Let's just talk real quick about what autism is, ADHD, and auDHD. Autism is a neurotype marked by differences in social communication, sensory processing, and a strong drive for predictability and depth. At work, you might see exceptional pattern recognition, honesty, deep focus on interests, and also sensory fatigue, difficulty with vague instructions, and stress when priorities change without warning. ADHD is differences in attention regulation, working memory, and impulse or energy modulation. Not a lack of attention, but attention that is interest driven. So at work, you might see creativity, rapid problem solving, hyper focus in sprints, also context switching costs, time blindness, and starts strong but finishes late when priorities are unclear. With auDHD, we get a bit of both, when autism and ADHD occur together. At work, what you might see is intense strengths, innovation and depth, and compelling needs. So craving structure and novelty, sensitivity to noise, but thriving in a sprint. Who knew? We'll do a deeper dive on each of these in a future video around strengths, traits, and supports we can have for all different types of neurodiversity in the workplace. But for today, two things matter the most for managers: masking and burnout. So let's talk about why coming out is so hard in the workplace. Research shows disclosure at work is risky. Do you want to be that manager? Do you want to be that risky manager? I don't want to be that risky manager, and I'm confident as a good human, you don't want to be the risky manager. So the upside of someone disclosing their disability to you at work is employees feel valued, feel heard, colleagues might understand them a bit better, relationships can improve. But the downside is, and this is like a clear downside, disclosure can often lead to more scrutiny, like babying or being quietly excluded from projects or promotions. Grim. So here's the thing. Autistic and ADHD workers aren't asking for luxuries. They're asking for simple, low-cost adjustments like flexible start times, advanced notice for changes, or a quiet corner just to focus in. But because workplaces treat these like special favors, disclosure feels like a gamble. And for too many, it ends in punishment and not support. That's why many employees choose to stay absolutely silent, masking their needs until burnout forces them out. So managers, if you think no one on your team is neurodivergent, chances are they are. They might just not feel safe telling you. And remember, and I want to make this super clear, just because you think someone might have mild autism, that's because you're experiencing them mildly, not experiencing what they're experiencing not mildly. So please keep that in mind when you're dealing with your staff members. So what does masking actually look like at work? Masking is an effort for our neurodivergent folks to hide or compensate for the differences to pass as fine or normal. In real life, it can look like mirroring tone or body language, forcing eye contact, rehearsing safe phrases, suppressing stimulations like bouncing or fidgeting, even when it helps regulate them, over preparing for informal chats because expectations are unclear, smiling or nodding through sensory pain, noise, lights, and smells, staying camera on when camera off would preserve energy. Masking can keep the piece really short term, but it burns through energy real quick and makes genuine performance data hard to see because you're measuring how well someone hides, not how well they work. Let that sink in. So let's design the work so you don't have to spend energy hiding. How about trying that? What would make this easier for you? Clarity, quiet time, a different format? Let's talk about it. This is what you can say to your staff. Now let's talk about spotting burnout early. This is a tricky one because autistic and ADHD burnout isn't a bad week. It's a capacity crash after a long mismatch and overexertion. And it is very different from the burnout that neurotypical people experience. Now, I've spoken about this in a previous video. Go watch that. It really describes the difference between neurotypical and neurodiverse burnouts. They're two different things. So early signs at work could be rising sensory sensitivity, headphones more often, camera off, avoiding noisy spaces. Executive friction, missed micro deadlines, decision paralysis, starting but not finishing, communication shifts, short replies, avoiding calls, over apologizing, over explaining. Energy cliffs, more sick days, working late to catch up, social withdrawal. What about a quality wobble? Uncharacteristic errors, rework, perfectionism spikes. What can you do when you do see it or when you do notice it? Have a kind conversation. Let's just start there. Have a kind conversation. You're not an asshole. And I hope you're not an asshole manager. So have a kind conversation. See what's up. Lower the load. De-scope, extend deadlines, remove non-essential meetings. What about boosting predictability? Clear priorities, deadlines, and kind of what good looks like. Add recovery, protected focus hours, genuine breaks. Ask about sensory barriers, noise, light, and adjustments. What about documenting the changes as a team norm, not just as a one-person norm? What about a team norm or accommodation? Like, just let's be humans. Let's try that. So, let's think about the 5 simple things great managers, because you are a great manager. Great things great managers can do that are really simple. Literally, you could do them on Monday. Like, this is not expensive. You could do this. All right, let's make priorities legible, right? Let's just make it legible. Label messages either action or FYI and include a deadline and a definition of done in every single communication. Let's stop hiding surprise deadlines or definitions. Protect a daily quiet hour. Like, have your entire team block down a heads down hour of work, turn on do not disturb, and define what urgent looks like. Run agenda first meetings. No agenda, no meaty. Start with the decision needed and end with who the owner, the next step, and the date is. Simple. Also allow cameras optional. Now, for me, because we work so remotely all the time, I kind of like seeing people's faces because it's how I read like people's responses to things, but I know that doesn't work for everybody. Write things down. Follow up complex asks with bullet points and examples. Writing reduces ambiguity and context switching costs. Like, let's just stop doing that. Give RSD smart feedback. We may need to turn this into a full episode, maybe even interviewing my manager, because my manager is actually really good at this. Lead with a goal, name one concrete observation, offer one next step, and give some processing time. RSD feedback is really important, especially when you've got staff with neurodiverse needs. RSD is a huge, huge part of that. Now, we're just scratching the surface here on that. In another episode, I'm going to dive deeper into rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, and how you can deliver feedback in a really friendly way. Because feedback is one of the biggest pain points for neurodivergent staff, and getting it wrong can shut people down completely. So, let's just look at the good news here for a second. You don't have to wait for disclosures to make work better for everybody. In fact, the best managers bake accommodations into the team culture by default. So, kind of 3 starting points. We've already covered a couple. Start them on Monday. Clarity over overguessing, flexibility by default. Why not create like open accommodations for everyone, like a menu of optional supports? No diagnosis required, just a menu of things people can select from. Quiet seats, written instructions, daily focus block, camera optional calls. Pick what supports you enjoy best and stick with them. And let's also normalize breaks, model pacing, recovery time, stepping away when needed. If leaders do it, teams follow without guilt. Let's think about that. So these are not just disability accommodation, they're good management accommodations. They reduce errors, they improve productivity, and they make your whole team more resilient.
I saw people yesterday. Now I'm done for the week.
Accommodations can be offered to everyone, and it raises productivity for everyone, not just neurodivergent folks. That's the point. Make an environment do the heavy lifting for you. I know today's conversation was very office-based. I see you, site leaders and field teams. I'm putting together a site-based edition next with kind of radio shift patterns, PPE and sensory load, toolbox talk scripts. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I post new videos every Saturday. Seriously, just ping. Here's kind of the key takeaway. Don't wait for your employees to come out and beg for adjustments. Make flexibility, clarity, and recovery part of the way that you lead your team. When you normalize accommodations, you don't just support your neurodivergent team members, you make work better for everyone. And if this helped, drop a comment with one thing you're going to try in your team this week, and subscribe for more straight talking videos on building neuro-inclusive workplaces, because neurodivergent staff don't need pity. They need you to have good management.